Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about weak squares in chess. What weak square is. Let's try to understand that, and then we're going to go ahead and analyze the position we see on the board. Just you know, this game was played by me. I was playing black. In general, a weak square is that square which cannot be defended by the pawn, where we can safely sit with one of the pieces and use that square for a long time and try to occupy those kind of squares. And for example, if you black, usually the weak squares will be somewhere on the fourth or third rank of your opponent. And if you white, they will be on the fifth and sixth ranks. And as I explained, try to look around to see the square which is not protected by the opponent's pawn. And let's now go ahead, see our position, and try to determine weak square or maybe squares in our position. So I'm black here. As I said, it was black's turn. And what do you think? Where's the weak square in this situation? You can make a pause and try to understand it and then continue with the video. The weak square is d4. Why is it weak? Because white's e and c pawns are pushed forward and they're not being able to guard a square on d4. Therefore, this square is vulnerable. It's a good square for black to occupy in the future, and you will see how game went from this position. I played bishop f8. Idea is pretty simple. I'm trying to free my knight on c5, who is being pinned. At some point I need to move my queen, and therefore knight will be coming from e6 to our weak square on d4. That's why bishop f8 was played. Knight g5. Opponent wants to trade some pieces. I myself think that I would probably play h3 to remove the bishop. But again, let's see what happened. Knight g5, bishop e2, rook takes e2, knight h5. So I see another good square here. It's not that weak as d4, but it's also vulnerable. So in case if we get knight to f4, we will be getting good and interesting attacking chances on the king side of the board. Yes, our knight can easily be chased by g3 move, as you can see, but even there we will be able to create some kind of attacks since g3 is weakening the king side of the board. And also knight h5 is a nice tempo, so I decided to play it and attack his knight on g5. Knight h3, protecting on f4, queen f6. As I was planning, I'm trying to free my knight on c5 to go to e6. Knight f1, rook d8. It's good to bring rook to game. Rook d8, rook d8, rook d2. White's plan is pretty obvious. They're struggling to put pieces to right squares, and they're struggling to find good plan, good strategy to play from this point. And what they found is just, you know, trading pieces and making position as simple as possible so they can have more chances to defend. Rook d2 and knight g7. So this is another interesting move I played. Idea is pretty obvious, trying to get knight from g7 to e6 and then further to d4, right? Why did I play knight g7, not knight e6 directly? I think if I do knight e6 here instead of knight g7, then black takes. Of course, we don't want to take with the knight, so we can take with the queen, and then bishop f8. Most likely I need to take with the king. My knight is still going to d4, but what I realized here, that if I bring my other knight to d4, right, my c5 knight will be useful for me to attack on the queen side of the board. And there is still one more weak square, which is not protected by our pawn, of course, as d4, but that's still good square we can definitely use for pieces to put more pressure. So that's why I played knight g7, rook d8, queen d8, knight e3, and just going to our d4 square. Bishop takes c5, queen d1. Okay, this is another critical moment which appeared in the game. Opponent is following his strategy, wants to trade pieces as much as he can, and then somehow defend position in the endgame. So what I played here was bishop d4. What we can see from this position, d4 could be occupied with any of my pieces, knight, queen, or bishop. But I decided to put my bishop to d4 and not to block him by moving my knight there. If I move my knight, yes, knight is beautiful on d4. It's without any doubt. It's a beautiful knight, but it blocks the bishops. I don't want to make my bishop passive. So what I'm doing is bishop d4, getting that square. Now, the knight is still very useful, can always jump to c5. I can still get nice battery here in case if I need to put more pressure. By queen b6, I can get this battery. And overall, my knight is still having chance to get another f4 square, since knight on h3 is out of the game, and at some point, opponent can try to improve his position. So it's definitely great position for black, and we are definitely dominating here by using weaknesses of dark squares, and especially d4. Queen c2 and queen h4. Another beautiful square. I call this kind of weak squares advanced weak squares, not because they are like advanced in the position, they're advanced in understanding. So queen h4 is definitely like a square from where your queen, our queen, can easily be chased. But the thing is, the knight is under attack, so he's not being able to do it. And the queen is putting a lot of pressure to king's side of the board, to e4 pawn, number one, and they're keeping pressure to f2. And again, he cannot really do anything with my queen. That makes position more enjoyable for black. That's why I played queen h4, knight f1. Another threat we have here is simple. If white plays something random, we will take on e3 next move, and you see it is checkmate. That's why knight f1 was played. And another interesting moment, please, you can make a pause and think, what would you do here for black to increase your advantage, to get better? Seems like we got d4 square, queen is doing good job, knight is fine, everything is great, but is there something we can do forcing to get even better advantage? And I found interesting tactical way of playing here, pawn g5. Yes, idea is simple. I want to play g4, trap the knight. Please be careful with moves such as g5, because as you can see, I play g5 and I'm weakening f5 square. Because right now, no one from my pawns, of course, is protecting f5. So f5 is definitely weak square. But opponent does not have time, resources to get f5 square. So he's definitely out of any counter game or counter idea to get to take advantage of f5 square. That's why g5, I'm just tactically winning the game before he thinks of something else. Idea is g4, he cannot really prevent it. King h1 is the only move. I play g4 and queen f2. So now we got extra pawn, beautiful endgame position, and then later I just simply won the game, and we can see what happened in the game quickly. Knight e2, putting pressure. We can exchange. That's fine. We're ahead. And remember, I was talking about d3 square and how vulnerable it is. And right now, I'm taking advantage of it with idea to play knight c1 after knight d3 to attack a2 and b3 pawns. Knight f5. Okay, in this case, my opponent is giving me opportunity to win the central pawn, and I decided All right, it's a good one, so I can go for it. And I took that pawn. And after this game is pretty much lost, I don't want to go further. So just you know, we got this winning position. Interesting game about weak squares in chess. And again, I want to bring it to your attention. The weak square will be that square which cannot be protected by the opponent's pawns. If you see any square which is not being protected, cannot be attacked by the opponent's pawns, that is the square you can try to occupy, you can try to get, and this is going to be a weak square. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you in our next lessons. Bye-bye.